Launch an internet millionaire's secret formula to sell almost anything online. Build a business you love and live the life of your dreams. By Jeff Walker. Picture this: a guy named John Gallagher with an almost obsessive love for foraging edible and medicinal plants. He's got this wild dream of sharing his passion with families everywhere. So, with his wife, he pours his heart into creating something magical, a gorgeous educational board game for kids called Wildcraft, an herbal adventure game. Here's where things get real. John borrows nearly $20,000 from his dad. That's not pocket change, right? He orders 1,500 copies of this game, betting everything on his dream. Then the truck shows up. We're talking pallet after pallet of boxes. They take over his garage. Then the spare bedroom. Then the second bathroom. Even the shower stall ends up packed with boxes. His entire house becomes a monument to his ambition. So John throws this big launch party. He invites everyone he knows, his heart practically bursting with hope. He can already see families bonding over his game, kids learning about nature. But that night crushed him. He sold exactly 12 games. 12 out of 1,500. Which means 1,488 games sat there, staring at him every single morning, this physical reminder of how spectacularly things had gone wrong. Meanwhile, his debt kept growing, and his wife and 2 young kids were literally on food stamps just to eat. John had walked straight into a trap that destroys more dreams than you'd believe. It's this silent killer called hope marketing, where you create something amazing, pour your soul into it, and then just hope people will buy it. But here's the thing about John's story. It doesn't end in that pit of despair. Not even close. What if I told you that from that exact rock bottom, John's very next launch sold 670 games, and that eventually he went on to sell over 50,000 copies, building a thriving 6-figure business from that same game that once symbolized his failure? No lottery win, no lucky break. He discovered a formula, a system created by another guy who'd hit rock bottom, a stay-at-home dad named Jeff Walker, working from a dimly lit corner of his basement, desperately trying to make enough money to support his family. That formula, that's what we're diving into today. It's from the book Launch, and I'm going to let you in on a secret. By the time we're done here, you'll understand the fundamentals of this remarkable system. We're talking about a step-by-step blueprint that's generated not just millions, but hundreds of millions of dollars for regular people all over the world. This isn't some sleazy sales tactic. It's about creating movements, building businesses you actually love, and designing the kind of life you thought only happened to other people. Ready? Let's jump in. The story of Launch really begins with one terrifying mouse click. Jeff Walker's finger is hovering over that button. For 7 years, this guy hasn't had a real job. He'd been a stay-at-home dad, though back then, people just called him Mr. Mom, usually not as a compliment. He'd quit his corporate career because he felt like he was suffocating there, but now, his wife Mary was carrying the entire financial burden of their family, and it was crushing her. Jeff was desperate, so there he is, in his basement with a beat-up computer and painfully slow dial-up internet, about to sell a simple email newsletter about the stock market. Months of planning, all his family's hopes. One click. He hits send. The seconds crawl by. He checks for a sale, nothing. He checks again, still nothing. Then, at 59 seconds, the first sale comes through. Then, another, and another. Within 1 hour, he'd made over $8,000. By the end of that week, this humble little offer had generated over $34,000, almost what he used to make in an entire year at that corporate job he hated. That launch brought his wife home for good. Here's what Jeff didn't realize at the time. He hadn't just stumbled onto a way to make money. He'd accidentally invented an entirely new way of marketing, a system he'd later call the product launch formula. So what exactly is this formula? What did Jeff do differently from John Gallagher's heartbreaking launch party disaster? The answer is a complete shift in thinking. Most marketing is hope marketing. You create your product, toss it out into the world, maybe run an ad or post on social media, and then you cross your fingers. It's like standing on a busy street corner shouting, "Buy my stuff," while competing with thousands of other people shouting the exact same thing. Most people lose that battle. Jeff's accidental discovery was something he calls the sideways sales letter. For decades, the holy grail of marketing was the long-form sales letter. This massive vertical wall of text, page after page, trying to convince you to buy. Jeff, without even meaning to, did something revolutionary. He took that vertical letter and flipped it sideways. Instead of pages, he used days. Instead of delivering one long, overwhelming monologue, he broke his message into smaller pieces delivered over time. He turned a sales pitch into a conversation. He transformed marketing into an event. Think about how Hollywood launches a blockbuster. 6 months before release, you see a teaser trailer. A few months later, a full trailer. Then actors start showing up on talk shows. Social media explodes with it. By the time that movie hits theaters, you're not just aware of it. You're practically counting down the hours. You've been on a journey with them. Apple does the same thing with every iPhone launch. The product launch formula lets anyone, even someone working from their basement, create that same buzz and excitement without a multi-million-dollar budget. It leverages what makes the internet special: speed of communication, low cost, and the ability to actually interact with your audience. At its core, the formula rests on 3 pillars: sequences, stories, and triggers. Let's start with sequences. We're drowning in what Jeff calls a communication fog. Thousands of messages bombard us every single day. One email, one ad, it's practically guaranteed to vanish into the noise. So instead of a single message, you use a sequence of communications that build on each other. The launch breaks down into 4 main sequences: the pre-launch, the pre-launch, the launch itself, and the post-launch. Each one has a specific job to do. The second pillar is stories. Stories are literally how humans have communicated for thousands of years. We don't remember facts and figures, but we remember stories. John Gallagher's 1,488 unsold games, that image is burned into your brain now. Jeff as Mr. Mom making 6 figures in 7 days? You'll remember that too. If you want your marketing to stick, it needs to tell a story. The pre-launch sequence, typically 3 pieces of content, creates the perfect structure for a classic 3-act play, letting you tell a compelling story about your product and the transformation it offers. And this brings us to the third, and possibly most powerful, pillar: mental triggers. We all like to think we make decisions based on pure logic, but the truth? Most of our choices are driven by deep-seated, subconscious mental triggers, and we use logic later to justify them. The product launch formula is designed to ethically activate these triggers, creating this powerful magnetic pull toward your offer. Jeff focuses on 9 key triggers. First is authority. We naturally follow people we see as experts, like how we trust a doctor in a white coat. By delivering valuable content during your launch, you automatically establish yourself as an authority. Second is reciprocity. When someone gives us something valuable, we feel this innate obligation to give something back. Remember that awkward feeling when a neighbor brings you a Christmas gift and you don't have one for them? Your entire pre-launch is about giving away amazing free content. This builds powerful reciprocity. Third is trust. It's way easier to influence someone who trusts you. Trust builds over time, and the sideways sales letter, delivered over several days, gives you that time. Fourth is anticipation. Remember being a kid, counting down to your birthday or Christmas morning? A great launch makes your audience feel that same excitement. They actually circle the date on their calendar. Then there's likability. We simply prefer doing business with people we know, like, and trust. By being authentic, generous, and conversational, you become more likable. Sixth and seventh are events and community. People crave being part of something bigger than themselves. like being a sports fan. A launch transforms your marketing into a shared event, creating instant community around your product. Eighth is scarcity. This is one of the most powerful triggers of all. When there's less of something, we want it more. Scarcity forces people to make a decision. A launch always has a definite end date, a real reason why people must act now. Jeff notes it's common to see as many sales in the final 24 hours as in the entire rest of the launch combined, all because of scarcity. And finally, social proof. We look to others to guide our actions. If you see 2 restaurants, one empty and one with 6 cars in the parking lot, which one do you choose? The busy one, because you figure those people know something. During a launch, when new prospects see hundreds of excited comments on your content, that's social proof in action. A product launch isn't about using just one of these triggers. It's about sequencing and layering them, one on top of another, to create a message that's both incredibly influential and deeply authentic. So how do we actually put this together in a real launch? Let's walk through the blueprint. It starts with the pre-launch. Jeff calls this the shot across the bow. This is the most overlooked part of the formula, but it's one of the simplest and most important. This is where you start building anticipation and gathering critical intelligence about your market before you've even created your main content. The strategy is beautifully simple. You send out a short email or social media post with a subject line like, "Quick announcement and a favor." In it, you tell your audience you're working on something new, and you ask for their help. You ask them a simple question like, "What are your 2 biggest questions about this topic that I absolutely need to answer?" This simple act accomplishes 10 things at once. It lets people know something's coming without being pushy. It teases their curiosity. It makes them feel like collaborators in the creation process, and people always support what they help create. Most importantly, it reveals their biggest objections and desires. You're getting your market to literally tell you exactly how they want to be sold to. After the pre-launch, you move into the heart of the formula, the pre-launch sequence. This is typically 3 pieces of high-value content. Your pre-launch content, or PLC, delivered over about 7 to 10 days. These days, it's often video, but it can be anything: articles, audio, PDF reports. Each piece has a specific job. PLC number 1 is about the opportunity. It answers the question, why? Why should your prospect even care? You show them the transformation or change that's possible in their life. You establish your authority and positioning, why they should listen to you, and you deliver real value by teaching them something right away. Let's look at a real example. Barry Friedman is a world-class professional juggler. He'd performed on The Tonight Show and at the White House. But he knew many of his fellow entertainers were brilliant performers who struggled with the business side. They were terrified of having to get a real job. So Barry created a high-end coaching program called Showbiz Blueprint to teach them how to get high-paying corporate gigs. In his first pre-launch video, Barry told his story. He talked about his high school guidance counselor who told him he'd be broke and homeless if he pursued juggling. Instant connection. He showed his audience that he understood their fears and dreams, and he painted this picture of what was possible for them. He wasn't selling anything. He was inspiring them. PLC number 2 is about the transformation. This piece answers, what? Here, you dive deeper into the teaching. You give your audience a tangible tip, a strategy, a quick win that starts moving them toward the transformation you promised. The goal is to get your prospect to see themselves actually achieving the result. In Barry's second video, he taught fundamental marketing principles for entertainers. He gave away some of his best stuff for free, demonstrating his authority and building massive reciprocity. PLC number 3 is the ownership experience. This answers how. You've shown them the destination, the opportunity, and you've given them a taste of the journey, the transformation. Now you show them the vehicle that'll get them there, your product. In the last part of this content, you make a pivot to the sale. You gently let them know an offer is coming for those who want to go deeper. You also Seed the scarcity, mentioning that the offer will be limited somehow. Barry nailed this. After a 6-day pre-launch to a tiny email list of fewer than 1,000 people, he opened registration for his $2,000 coaching program. He was only accepting 15 participants. He sold out almost immediately for nearly $30,000 in total sales. That's nearly $60 for every single person on his email list. This leads us to the launch sequence, or the open cart period. This is when you're officially open for business. Typically, a launch runs for 4 to 7 days. The open cart email is short and to the point. Something like, "Okay, we're live. Here's the link." The most critical part of this phase is having a definite close with real scarcity. There must be a negative consequence for not buying during the launch window. This can be one of 3 things. The price goes up, special bonuses disappear, or the offer goes away entirely. Without this, you'll cut your sales in half because most people are natural procrastinators. You send emails throughout the open cart period, reminding them of the deadline and the scarcity, with a flurry of emails on the final day. Now, all of this sounds great, but there's a big question I know you're asking. It's the number one question Jeff gets. What if I don't have a list? Or what if I don't even have a product yet? This is where the true genius of the formula shines, with something called the seed launch. The seed launch is designed for people starting from absolute zero. It's how you get paid to create your product. Here's how it works. First, you pull together a tiny micro list, maybe just 50 to 100 people from your social media contacts and personal email. Then you do a simplified launch for an offer that doesn't exist yet. The product you sell is a series of live training calls, like 3 or 5 weekly teleseminars or webinars. Before each call, you survey your new clients and ask them what their most burning questions are about that week's topic. Then you get on the call and answer those exact questions. You record the calls. After 5 weeks, you have 5 recordings. You get them transcribed. Suddenly, you have a complete multimedia course, audio and a book, that's perfectly tuned to what your market actually wants, because they helped you create it. You got paid to do your market research and create a world-class product. This is exactly what Tara Marino did. After the tragic loss of her young child, she was searching for a new purpose. She had a passion for helping women live more sensual lives, but she had no product and no list. She did a seed launch to about 200 personal contacts and sold 5 spots in her first program, making almost $3,000. That doesn't sound like much, but it was the seed. That first launch gave her the product and the momentum for her next launch, which did $12,000. Her next did $90,000, and then $190,000. She and her husband Dave have now done over $500,000 in sales, quit their jobs, and moved their family to the south of France, living a life they'd only dreamed of. All from a tiny seed launch. The seed launch is the first step in what Jeff calls the circle of awesome. You start with a seed launch to create and prove your product. Then you do an internal launch, a full PLF-style launch just to your own growing list. You test and refine your messaging and your offer. Once you have a proven winner, you're ready for the final step, the JV launch. JV stands for joint venture. This is the rocket fuel. This is where you partner with other people in your market who already have large, established email lists. You invite them to promote your launch to their audience, and in return, you pay them a commission, often 50%, on any sales they generate. This is the single fastest way to build a list and generate massive sales. This is how Jeff Walker, starting from scratch in a brand new market, built a list of over 15,000 people in just a few days and did over $600,000 in sales in his first launch for the product launch formula. It's also how, a few years later, he launched the second version of his program and did the unthinkable. With the support of his JV partners, he generated over $1 million in sales in the first 53 minutes. That launch went on to do nearly $4 million in just 34 hours. That is the ultimate power of the product launch formula. It's a system that can take you from a simple idea, to a seed launch with just a handful of clients, to an internal launch that builds your business, all the way to a massive JV launch that can transform your industry and your life. It is, quite simply, a recipe for turning your passion into a thriving business and using that business to create a life of freedom and impact. So what do we take away from this incredible blueprint? When you peel back all the layers, the sequences, the triggers, the tactics, you find a simple, profound truth at the heart of launch. It's a philosophy that shifts you away from the mindset of selling and into the mindset of serving. The entire formula is built on one foundational principle: deliver massive value first. You build a relationship. You establish trust. You give away some of your best knowledge, freely and generously. You help your audience see a new possibility for their lives before you ever ask for a single dollar. By the time you make your offer, the sale is a natural, logical next step in the journey you've already been on together. It's not some pushy transaction. It's an invitation. This is why the formula continues to work, year after year, in a world that's become increasingly skeptical of traditional advertising. It's not a collection of short-term tricks. It's a strategy rooted in timeless human psychology. Connection, storytelling, authority, generosity. These things will never go out of style. The other powerful lesson here is about empowerment. The stories in this book, of John, Tara, Susan, Will, and Jeff himself, aren't tales of superheroes. They're stories of ordinary people who were often starting from a place of desperation, uncertainty, or outright failure. What the formula gave them wasn't magic, but a roadmap. A proven, tested system that took the guesswork out of building a business. It showed them that you don't need a fancy degree, a huge bank loan, or permission from anyone to create something valuable and share it with the world. So how can you apply this in your own life, starting today? Here are 3 simple steps. First, take a moment to get clear on your big why, as Jeff calls it. Beyond just making money, what's the impact you want to have? What's the business you would truly love to create? Write it down. A clear vision is the starting point for any great journey. Second, start building your own micro list. Don't overthink it. Just start sharing something valuable related to your passion. Post a helpful tip on social media. Email a few friends with an interesting article you found. The goal isn't to get 1,000 followers overnight. It's to start the process of gathering your first few people who are interested in what you have to say. And third, send your shot across the bow. Once you have a small audience, even just 10 people, ask them that simple, powerful question. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to this topic? Listen to their answers. This is the beginning of the launch conversation, the beginning of building a business that truly serves the needs of others. The journey from a stay-at-home dad in a basement to an internet millionaire, or from a garage full of unsold games to a 6-figure business, isn't a fairy tale. It's the result of following a formula that's not just about launching a product, but about launching a new chapter in your life. That was a summary of Launch by Jeff Walker. We've explored the core of his groundbreaking formula today. But a summary, no matter how detailed, is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. The real adventure, the true understanding, comes when you decide to take the journey yourself. The book is filled with nuances, deeper stories, and a spirit that can only be felt when you turn the pages. This summary is your map, intended to show you if this is a journey worth taking. If the ideas of turning your passion into a business and serving before you sell have sparked something in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning tactics. It's an experience that can fundamentally change how you view entrepreneurship and the possibilities for your own life. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if this journey through Launch has provided you with value, I'd be grateful if you'd like this video and subscribe to Billionaires Bookshelf. It helps us continue bringing these powerful ideas to more people and ensures you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.